time is it? To run back to my office? Okay.
My granddaughter this morning. This is a great start.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, friends. It's Kate Jordan over here at UNS. We're getting ready to start. Welcome you on this bright Sunday morning. If you are not already muted, please go ahead and mute your audio. That'll be the best quality. You'll notice because you'll have a little red mic with a line through it. So go ahead and mute yourselves if you're not already. And we'll be getting ready to go in just a moment. Good morning.
Of you who are joining us on Zoom or on a live stream, we are so happy that you've decided to join us this morning. We are here. We're doing a hybrid service, so there are a number of us here in the sanctuary, but I wanted to just take a minute and say hello to those of you who are Zooming in. We're so grateful that you're here. Also, please, we would love to, if you're comfortable, go ahead and turn your cameras on. I know that's a beautiful way to sort of use this technology to create a greater sense of connection. And check out the chat stream. We'll be posting links in there along the way, and we also invite you to use that chat stream to post prayer requests or send out greetings or shout outs, just any way at all that we can use this beautiful kind of hybrid environment to create a greater sense of connection between us. So glad you're here. We got a great service planned, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vivian Morrison.
Good morning and welcome to Unity on the North Shore Sunday service. Whether you're joining us in the sanctuary or joining us virtually or on Zoom today or watching us later on social media, we are glad you are with us. I'm Vivian Morrison, your worship assistant. Today, Reverend Kurt continues our Sunday lesson series titled Necessary Endings. This month, we dive into how to see endings from a spiritual perspective. Sharon Myers is our prayer chaplain, and we're blessed to welcome Felina Bond back to sing, and Laura Driscoll, who joins us this morning while Dennis is away. We are so grateful they're here and for their amazing gifts and talents. Now let's get started with prayer. As you go within, relax. Holy presence, we know that in God we can never be separate from love, from truth, from infinite intelligence, and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred time to open our hearts and minds to the one power and one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us. And we affirm we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that purpose is now being fulfilled, for we know we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. And now, Felina and Laura.
I am light. 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 I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I am not the mistakes that I have made or any other things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dreams I left behind. I am light. Yes, I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I'm not my race. My soul inside. It's all light. I am 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 divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am light.
Thank you, Felina. Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition, and so we honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, please know that you are always welcome here. At Unity on the North Shore, our purpose is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. And we do this by acting on principles of inclusion, encouraging creative spiritual exploration, embracing innovative possibilities, collaborating to create community and personal growth, and living truth principles. If this is your first Sunday with us, we want to extend a loving welcome to you. Upon discovering unity, many of us, myself included, was surprised to find that there's a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things we did. It felt like coming home to me. We hope your experience this morning is equally powerful and that you will return. Please complete a guest card in our Welcome Center at the back of the sanctuary. We can further welcome you. Now, Helena.
Lena, what a treat to have you here 2 weeks in a row, and Laura, for you to join us. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sharon Myers, and I am serving as prayer chaplain this morning. Let us begin by reflecting today on the daily word. As I read, allow the words that you hear spoken to become a silent and powerful meditation within you. The daily word for today is joy. And the affirmation is, I say yes to the joy that invites me in this moment. Joy is the call of my heart. Whether I am at work or at play, I bring a spirit of joyfulness to everything that I do. More than a mood or an attitude, joy is part of me and mine to live and to share. Like all aspects of my divine identity, joy flowers in my consciousness when I hold joyful thoughts and feelings. I express my joy as the excitement of anticipation, fascination at a new discovery, deep satisfaction in a relationship, and the tranquil glow from communing with God in prayer. My joy is contagious, and I love to share in it. I have feelings of joy when I take part in a friend or a family member's joyous moments, their celebrations, their accomplishments. I feel quiet joy when I offer encouragement, and even when I give comfort to others, grateful to share the care and the joy of God. Rejoice always. 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Now, as we continue to focus on prayer, I invite you to relax. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. Take a gentle, deep breath in. And as we all release it, we all relax and let go. Let go of any thoughts or stress as we all still our minds and we open our hearts. We are peacefully resting in the presence of divine spirit. God is present in and all around us and our loved ones, right here, right now, and always. So let us rest in the silence, holding in prayer yourself and your loved ones, now in the silence. Divine Presence, we affirm joy that is who we are. And all that surrounds us brings us back to that joy, that calm, and that peace. We know of change. We know of transition. We also know of the deep and abiding peace and joy within us in all we do, in all we are, in who we are, and all we share with each other. And so it is. All is well. All will be well in joy. Amen. I now invite you to request your own personal prayer. And for those of you who are here in the sanctuary in person, I'd like to remind you that you can place your written prayer requests in the boxes in the sanctuary. For those of you online, you can enter prayer requests in the chat box or use our website prayer link, which will be posted there. All prayer requests will be prayed over for 30 days by our prayer team, followed by an additional 30 days of prayer from Silent Unity at Unity Village. Also, now that some of us are back in the sanctuary, prayer chaplains will be available after the service in the back. And now we return to Felina and Laura for more inspiring music.
I have never wanted time to go so slow as when I'm watching my little boy grow. When he took his first small steps entitled by, I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. But when it's time, we're all going to learn to walk. When it's time, he's going to learn how to talk back. When it's time, there's no stopping that clock. When it's time, I have never wanted time to go so fast, paying dues like I'd be paying to the last, singing songs for friendly strangers in a tiny town. May not be the best way to be found, but when it's time, I'll write the song I'm born to write. When it's time, I'll step into those lights. When it's time, yeah, the music will be mine. When it's time. I have never wanted time to stand so still. I thought we could live forever just by force of will. But the day will come, we'll have to say goodbye, and we will never know the very reason why. But when it's time, we have just so many years. When it's time, just so much laughter and tears. When it's time, we go back to where we're from. When it's time. Ooh.
Thank you, Felina. Oh my goodness. That's a Daniel Nabod song that I asked her to learn as we kind of continue our exploration of, well, the seasons of life, that there's a time for every season. And that's what we've kind of been exploring together over these, throughout the month of August. Specifically, we're looking at endings and the necessary endings that are a part of every life journey and every experience. We started out by talking about normalizing them, like coming to a place of comfort and recognizing that there are points in our life journey where there are endings to relationships, there are endings to jobs, there are endings to circumstance in our lives, and ultimately there are endings to our physical journeying in this realm. So just sort of normalizing that in a way that opens up space for us to be present to the gifts and the deeper kind of joy that arises out of it, right? We've also talked about how it's kind of human nature to resist those endings, those change. We hang on sometimes to what's comfortable, to the way that we know it's always been. And it's in that hanging on that makes it wrong, and resisting and pushing back, that it actually becomes an obstacle to us to being able to fully experience that allness of life, the full blessings that arise out of the seasons of life. So we've talked about that. And then this morning, what I want to talk about is sort of the difference, or how it is that we can discern between when we're standing in a circumstance where it's really appropriate to kind of be open to the ending of that circumstance, or when it's time to kind of fix it, when it's time to continue sort of with perseverance, to continue on in the way we've going. Because and it's a distinction that has been drawn by Dr. Henry Cloud in this book, Necessary Endings. It's kind of what has prompted most of this series. And largely, he talks of sort of secular and business kind of circumstances and business deals and that kind of thing. But there are also elements of that, as we've seen, express in our lives personally. And there's a spiritual dimension to it as well. He doesn't speak to that. That's the part that I bring you on Sundays. So what I want to do is kind of walk through 4 of the, I guess, milestones that Cloud would set out as sort of guideposts for us to decide between whether or not this is a circumstance or a time for fixing, or this is a time to really welcome endings. The first of those guideposts he describes as really looking at, as you're discerning whether or not this is a time to end or a time to keep pushing, is to look at past experience. Is there something in your life that has resonated like this? Is there some other time when you have been through an ending or a circumstance that you wish you had been able to do maybe more skillfully, or with a little bit more intentionality, or a little bit more love or compassion? And by sort of calling those circumstances to mind, we can begin to maybe see different possibilities, different ways of showing up, different ways of sort of embracing the spiritual dimension, different ways of inculcating that with our prayer energy and our meditation experience. The example he used, I'm going to use a very secular example. The example he uses is a business one, and he talks about a CEO who began her career early on at Motorola. This is back in the early days of mobile phones. Do y'all remember that? I don't know. I imagine some of our younger, we've got Sammy Blix is helping us in the tech side. I bet she would never remember it. This isn't exactly one, but I remember the first mobile phone I had. You carried it around in a big old bag. It was hugely heavy. It had giant batteries. And this is at the point when Motorola was sort of dominating the market for mobile phones. Well, AT&T came to Motorola and said, hey, you got the market on this analog stuff. We think you're the leaders. Would you be willing to work with us on creating a digital platform for phones? And Motorola said no. So AT&T went to Nokia, and that's who dominated the digital marketplace for a whole lot of years after that. Fast forward a couple of decades, and one of the executives who was involved at Motorola at that time is now working for a medical equipment company called Welch Allen. I wasn't familiar with it, but those of you who know doctors' offices or maybe even noticed, there's a lot of equipment that shows up there that they're doing testing. Almost all of it is built by Welch Allen, as I understand it. And Welch Allen has been a family-owned company with this deep sense of connection to its customer base, the doctors and the nurses who use their equipment. Well trusted. They've got this wonderful sort of track record of being a trusted and a profitable and a successful company. Well, this executive who'd come from that Motorola experience sort of was able to take a step back, and knowing that the endings are sort of a normalizing process, she recognized that, the industry is changing really dramatically, really quickly. And while we've got all this equipment out in the field that people love and are continuing to use, what she noticed is that other industries, everything's being integrated so it's on a single platform. Like, think of your iPhone. It doesn't matter if you have an iPhone or iPad or iPod or a Mac, it's all the same platform. How you use it, the interface looks the same on all of them. And so this executive decided that if Chaplain was going to move into this next generation and continue to be successful, then it needed to adapt so that it was using a common platform over all their equipment. Well, right now, each equipment had its own original platform. That was sort of what she had to move that through. So she worked very hard at sort of changing the mindset within the company so that they would be willing to end the way that they had been doing things that had been successful for decades, and be willing to sort of risk it all and step out in this new direction. And as I understand it, it's going very well. The book's been out a couple of years. He didn't have the stats. But I would imagine that given the way everything else is, that an integrated platform for a whole product line is a brilliant idea, and one that really allows them to sort of stay at the forefront of that particular marketplace. The same is true of our own ideas, right? As we might be sort of moving through our lives in a relationship, in a job, or in a circumstance or a pattern that has served us very well to this point. But we all know that spiritual growth is really about recognizing those places where we can expand our capacity to be that presence of the divine in every dimension of our lives, right? And that takes letting go of what was comfortable, letting go of how we've done it for years in the past, letting go of how we prayed back when we were kids. We're continually growing and evolving our capacity to be the light that Felina sang about at the top of the show, at the top of the service this morning. So that's the first piece, sort of look back at past experience and see whether or not that gives you any insight or any understanding about how to apply what you've learned spiritually to this current experience and this current understanding. All right, step 2, to decide whether or not it's time to end or whether it's time to fix. This one is all based on inner guidance and intuition. It's not one that Cloud speaks to, but I think it's hugely important, right? That as we learn to sort of sit in the presence of the divine, really pay attention to how Spirit is guiding us. Beautiful example of this happened in the Olympics a couple of weeks ago. I know it's two weeks old news, but Simone Biles, you remember this? She withdrew from the team events at the last minute and got all kinds of flack, all kinds of feedback. But as she began to describe what that process was about for her, I'd never heard of this, twisties, right? She was getting twisties. So it's when gymnasts lose their orientation. They kind of don't know up from down when they're in middle, and realize that it was because of the emotional stress and the pressure of sort of being a part of every event. She also recognized that it would most serve her emotional and I would say spiritual well-being. She didn't use that term, but her emotional and physical well-being if she could care for herself in a way that allowed her a greater sense of rest. So one of those choices that she made was to step back from doing the press interviews. And again, there was a huge blowback from that. We deserve a piece of her. We, the public, we need to know. We want to know the intimate details of how she's feeling through this process. And that is tremendously countercultural, right? Everything about the Olympics, well, not everything about the Olympics. It certainly has this wonderful quality of inspiring, but there's also a huge sort of money-driven dimension to the Olympics and the media surrounding it and the hype that's being there. And all of that gets fueled as we get our one-on-one interviews with the athletes on all the TV shows and Simone just realized that was harmful. She was following her own inner intuition. And so she ended her availability to the press as a part of her being able to be truly successful at what she is best at, what she excels at, what they name gymnastic moves after her for by ending a practice that wasn't serving her. That's another way that we begin to discern whether or not it's time to end or whether or not to keep going with something because it's sort of the given pattern. Pay close attention to the signals, the intuitive hits that you're getting, the prayerful inspiration you're getting, and even the physical sort of sensation that you experience. That's all a part of how we really discern whether or not it's time to end something or whether it's time to sort of keep pushing to that next level. Intuition and guidance. The third that he suggests in terms of this discernment place is to begin to recognize whether, as you're contemplating this ending, as there's this trajectory that we're sort of moving on, this wave that we're riding, as you're contemplating that, look for any evidence that what's happening, that there is a reasonable sort of rational impetus for a different outcome to begin to emerge. Is there something that's significantly different that would support this idea that the way we're going is going to change, right? The example that I bring is this one, and I have a biblical example for that. As we look at the Israelites, we've talked about sort of moving out of slavery into Egypt, that there was a death that happened there as they moved out to. I'm skipping ahead now 40 years. Moses has just died, and the Israelites are now standing on the threshold of moving in to the land of milk and honey, right? They've arrived at the promised land. Having arrived at the promised land, so the end of that part of the journey, now there's a whole nother dimension of stuff that's happening. There's a whole nother series of beginnings and endings that's going to be unfolding as the kingdom gets established, as the 12 tribes become 12 nations. There's a whole nother trajectory that happens. So the Israelites are now crossing into the promised land. The manna has stopped falling now. They're actually eating from the land. The land of milk and honey is providing for them, for their needs. And the first city that they encounter is Jericho. Joshua is now leading. Moses has passed. Joshua is leading them into Jericho. And what happens in Jericho is very much what happens in our own consciousness, right? There are spaces in our consciousness when we're moving, we're on a trajectory, and we encounter these very rigid thought forms. This consciousness that is sort of established and unmoving and very materialistic based, very this dimension based, rather than really taking its lead from what's happening in terms of the spiritual dimension of it, right? And what we find in the course of the Israelites moving into this time of being in Jericho is that the walls of Jericho must fall. Jericho falls in order for the journey into the promised land to actually begin to demonstrate it and manifest the promised land. Jericho, those walls must fall. Our rigid thought forms that are mostly based in sort of what's comfortable, what we know, what happens in the material realm, those must give way, those must end so that we can begin to step into that deeper place, right? If there's not evidence that something different is going to emerge, then it's time to sort of initiate or move through an ending. And the reason we knew that to be true in Jericho is because, as you recall, they sent spies into Jericho. Do you remember the Israelites sent spies ahead? And so in the city, they were looking for evidence of what might change, of how this might be a part of the kingdom to come. And the only place that they found any receptivity to new ideas was with Rahab, this woman who was a prostitute, but whose grounding in sort of love, whose acceptance, who really comes out of a space of love, even though in this realm, in this trajectory, that love is mostly sense-based, right? Ego-based, right? Physical world-based, and not coming out of a love of the divine, right? But there was potential there. So when the city of Jericho falls, it's Rahab who is moved out with the Israelites. She's saved from the desolation. See, that's the thing. The thing about Old Testament stories is a lot of it is it's based in a level of understanding where consciousness is about either we follow divine guidance and we are blessed, or we defer from divine guidance, we ignore it and we're cursed, right? It's sort of at that level of very basic what happens in the outer dimension for us. Whereas in Unity, most of us are much more comfortable in the realm of the Christian texts, the Christian scripts, the Christian scriptures, where it's all about love, right? So when we find these images of war, where the city of Jericho is desolated and pillaged, and all of the gold and silver is taken out for the treasury, when we encounter those, we have trouble getting over our depiction of it being a negative idea. What I'm suggesting here is that it's actually a really good benchmark for determining where those endings in our lives are going to be sort of most fruitfully embraced. Yeah? So if there's nothing in the current experience that suggests that this trajectory is going to change, if those thought forms are so rigid, if the path that we've established has already been tried 1,000,000 times, it's crazy to expect that something different is going to emerge. There needs to be an ending take place so that something new can come forward. Yeah? So that's the one about looking for evidence of change. And then the fourth sort of benchmark that he suggests is to really, and he doesn't use the word faith, I'm going to use the word faith. It's acknowledging this dimension of coming from a space of faith rather than a faith of even hope or of wishing it were so. In Unity, we know that there is great power in hope. We know that that's an energy that motivates us and moves us forward, and that's a beautiful energy to embrace, provided what we're hoping for actually has some life to it, right? It actually has some energy behind it that's going to be supportive and sustaining. If we're hoping in something that has no life to it, that has no energy, no vibrancy, then our hope is being misplaced. So the quote, I want to share the quote that Cloud used on this. I know it's page 89, even though, there it is. So he says, in the absence of real objective reasons to think that more time is going to help, it's probably time for some type of necessary ending. So in the absence of any evidence that there's something different, if we're just hoping and wishing, the way that this shows up, I think most that I've taught before around sort of prosperity teachings, is there has to be, whatever it is that we're wanting to affirm, we're bringing into our experience as part of our prosperity understanding. If those of you who've been in the 4T process or any of those other tithing classes, right? There's this notion that we hold a vision, we hold a hope, we open a space for something new to emerge, for something greater. And then the caveat with that is, it has to be something that at least a corner of our mind is open to, at least a corner of our mind can believe in, can really bring life to it. So it might be that I can imagine for myself an increase in income of $10,000. It might be that I can imagine for myself changing careers or jobs or writing a best-selling book, or I can imagine that and feel that. There's a resonance in it within me that I could even increase my income by $100,000. In my experience, though, for me to envision $1 million increase in my income in the next year, there's really not any part of my consciousness that's open to that kind of increase, right? There's no life in that. That's wishing, that's hoping without sort of a grounding in solid faith in the knowing of principle. It's reaching beyond what really even spirit can bring possible, because it's not something that I truly believe. So a piece of our discerning whether or not to end, there's an ending that's required, or whether or not to continue with it, is to really be very clear about whether this vision that we're holding for the future is grounded in a realistic faith, in something that, and that's not to say, see, this is where I get a little bit discombobulated, I think, because in Unity teachings, we definitely believe that we engage in the power of spirit precisely because it's not our own sort of will or ego that's pushing it. So it's something that's greater than what we might be able to do on our own, to accomplish on our own. And yet there is a balance to be struck between that sort of realistic expectation and just sort of miracle Pollyanna thinking that is just all, as Christina would say, rainbows and, what does she say? Rainbows and unicorns. Yep. It's not that. So make sure that as we're discerning between an ending that's fruitful, an ending that we want to move through in a mindful way, in a healthy way, and one that we're just sort of pushing forward out of this own dream, this sort of fantasy that we have about what might come into fruition. Those are key benchmarks to which to bring to it. Okay, so all of that sort of leading up to announcement that probably those of you who have read your email this week, most of you have probably received an email with some news about our Right and Perfect Home initiative. So I want to just kind of outline a little bit of where we are with that, because it is going to require this discernment between pushing forward on fixing or between recognizing that it truly is time for an ending. And where we are right now is we've been through, most of you are aware, almost 3 years now of discernment process. First exploring what it would take to be able to stay here, how much it would cost to maintain it, how much it would cost to remodel and redecorate and re-envision and re-equip. And then we moved into a space of working with a consultant so that they could help us really get clear about what those costs were, and also to discern what our next options might be. And in February of this year, we, the Right and Perfect Home team that's been working on this, unanimously elected to put the property on the market. So it's been on the market since January. We have received a number of offers. 2 of those we responded to. 3 of them didn't really even warrant a response from us. And then over the course of the last couple of months, our attorney and consultant and our negotiating team have been working on what that final deal might look like. So the board has signed that. It's called a purchase sales agreement, more that I've learned in this process of ministry that I never imagined would be. A purchase sales agreement. And what that means is we now have 60 days to inform and educate and surround in prayer this whole process. And keep in mind, this is September 26th, so this is almost 60 days from now. We will be holding a congregational meeting, at which point all the voting members will be voting on whether or not to approve this deal that the board has just signed. So we've got some time to do some discerning. We've got some time to really evaluate whether or not we're clearly at a point of ending or whether or not this is something that we can continue to fix. We will be holding, I know you'll have tons of questions right now, probably bubbling already. What I would like to suggest is that that's Jericho thinking, that's outer sort of thinking. What we want to make sure is, as we have been through this whole process, is that we're very transparent, that we're informing everyone with the same messaging at the same time. So the town hall meeting will be held 2 weeks from today, September 22nd. Next week is Reverend Christina's last message that she'll be giving out. We had another ending last weekend, right, as we begin to say goodbye to Reverend Christina as she moves on to Nashville to take over that senior ministry role. And then the following week, on the 29th, will be the town hall meeting, where the board and members of the RPH team will share more of the details about what this deal entails, what lies ahead for us, what the process might look like as we prepare to find a new and perfect home, or right and perfect home. All of those questions that are what I would call Jericho questionings, not that we don't want to entertain those, certainly, but we want to make sure that we're doing that in a really thoughtful and responsible way. So we want you to have that date on your calendar, August 29th. Also, we wanted to, in the interest of having as much participation in this choice as possible, for those of you who are former voting members, that means for whatever reason, perhaps your voting member status has expired, we are offering a Reboot class in a couple of weeks. Vivian will tell you the dates when we get to the announcement part. But if you would like to reactivate your voting membership status so that you can be part of this choice moving forward, there'll be an opportunity for you to do that by taking this Reboot class. And for those of you who have been really engaged in this ministry over the course of the last year and a half, or have been contemplating or considering becoming a member of Unity on the North Shore, we will be offering a membership class. That's 2 sessions. It'll be a couple of Thursday evenings, I believe. Vivian will have the dates in a minute. But if you would like to be a part of creating this ministry moving forward, of the decision about this deal that the board has just signed, then there's an opportunity for you to become a voting member before we reach the point of taking that vote. So as we have through this whole period, we're wanting to have sort of as much transparency, as much engagement, as much opportunity for involvement as possible. And that's essentially how we're going to make that possible, yeah. Okay, so that's a lot of info. That's a lot of Jericho thinking I've just sort of unloaded. I'd like you to breathe in now very deeply and just become present if you've got any busyness of mind going. And if you can, just sort of allow that to quiet. It's not that you have to stop the thinking, but just allow whatever thoughts you have to sort of move through your awareness and your consciousness. And we're going to prepare now for meditation. The meditation is really going to be directed at opening our hearts and minds so that we can be receptive to divine guidance in this and in every change and every ending that we might be moving into experience. With that, I'll turn it over to Felina and to Lara as they prepare us for a time of meditation.
I am light. 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 I am light.
And so as you breathe into this wonderful energy of light, of love, I invite you to remember that it is the deepest truth of who you are. You are light. You are love. Limitless in potential. Open to allowing Spirit to guide, to bless, to comfort, and to uplift. It's in the awareness of this truth that we are most receptive to the guidance and direction and insight that we know arises from the deepest part of our being. From that level where there is no separation between us and the divine, between us and all that is. So as you breathe in, as thoughts begin to quiet more, I invite you to simply allow space for whatever guidance or wisdom rises up from deep within you, to make itself consciously known. It might begin as simply a feeling or a sensation in your physicality, the physical body. Or you might experience it as some kind of emotional response to the thinking mind. And I would invite you to, rather than label that emotion, to just be with it. How does it express? Emotions are a powerful clearing agent. As we let them move through us without judging, the way is open for a deeper experience of life, of living, of being. And so now as we prepare to rest in just a little bit of quiet, I'm going to invite Laura to continue playing softly. I invite you to just rest in that space of being. Allow yourself to be the light that we know you were created to fully express. Shine on, be light in the quiet. And as we prepare to bring this time of meditation to a close, I would invite you to keep your eyes closed for just a moment. But maybe turn your palms over so your palms are open, maybe resting in your lap. And as Felina closes us out by seeing that beautiful affirmation, I am light, I invite you to join in singing it with her, proclaiming it for yourself, knowing your deepest truth. Now to gently open your eyes, and we'll sing it 3 more times. How about this time with a little more volume? Let it resonate in your very being. Know the truth of who you are. You are indeed, Felina. All of us are. God bless.
So let's just stay in this wonderful spiritual energy as we prepare now to receive our tithes and offerings. Our center and ministries are completely supported through your tithes and offerings. While it may be tempting to hold tight when we're facing endings and big change, remember that giving and sharing are good. It raises our spiritual consciousness. At Unity on the North Shore, we're proud that we practice the law of giving and receiving by tithing. We tally up all the unrestricted income we receive, then write and mail checks totaling 10% of those gifts to organizations or individuals who have nurtured and empowered us as a spiritual community. We also share our tithes with others whose work aligns with our mission of co-creating a world that works for all. Giving is safe and simple. If you're online, links and instructions are being entered in the chat stream now, and here are 3 simple ways to give. You can text the word give to 815-827-6052, or you can mail a check to 3434 Central Street, Evanston, Illinois, 60201, and you can give online at our website. If you're here in the sanctuary, you can place your gifts in the giving bowl at the back of the sanctuary as you leave this morning. Your generosity empowers us to continue our work towards creating a world that works for all by sharing principles and practices for abundant spiritual living. So now let's bless our giving and receiving with our blessing together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. Okay, Felina and Laura.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Okay, let's see. Thank you again, Felina and Laura. And thank you, live stream team. And thanks to all of you, whether you're in person or joining us virtually, your presence and participation have blessed us greatly. We truly appreciate that you chose to join us. And before we go, we have just a few announcements. First up, our annual prayer chaplain training begins soon, so let's bring up Olga and Tom.
Good morning. Olga and I have the privilege to share the coordination job for the prayer chaplain program. And prayer chaplain was originally brought to Unity by Nancy Good, for those of you who remember our dear departed soul. This is our annual invitation to prayerfully consider your possibility of becoming a prayer chaplain. There'll be a brochures on the back welcome station back there, and we'll be back there after the service to answer any questions about the information meeting. The requirements are there is no prior experience in praying with others is required. We provide all the training and support. You must be a voting member of Unity on the North Shore, so that's part of there'll be a membership meeting coming up which will qualify you. And at least 1 year of active participation with Unity. Be willing to deepen your spiritual path through prayer and service. And while this may sound like a recruiting commercial, it is not. In truth, the irony is you will be recruiting yourself based on prayerful consideration.
And I just want to tell you that it is one of the most incredible experiences you will have. It's really about connecting with this beautiful presence within us. You know, in this time and age, we really have some challenges, and so we really need prayer chaplains. I mean, the world, you can imagine all that's going on. And also our center, we are going through a transition, and so we really want to have people who are really interested in focusing on prayer. For me, it was like a devotion to God, a devotion to this divine presence. So it's one of the most surrendering and beautiful experiences you will have. Also, our meetings are joyful, we have fun, even our beloved Priscilla brings us dance, neo-dancing. It is just lovely. I cannot even tell you what a lovely experience it is. So I welcome all of you who are called, and remember that we provide all the training, and you don't have to worry or be fearful about praying, because God will be praying through you. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga and Tom. You have done a fantastic job as our leaders in Prayer Chaplain. An invitation for anyone who feels strongly about providing spiritual education and experiences for our youth. We're in the process of revisioning our youth and family ministry program. Reverend Christina has been meeting with parents, teens, and soul schoolers as she prepares to lead a special spiritual visioning session. That session will be held here in person Sunday, that's next week, August 22nd, to reimagine how to create engaging, spiritually enriching programming for children, teens, and families. We often hear that our youth are our future. So if you want to create a brighter future for us and the planet, please join Reverend Christina in imagining ways for UNS to prepare our youngest members to lead their lives with spiritual understanding and wisdom. As Reverend Kurt said, membership is a requirement for serving as a prayer chaplain and for voting on the property sale. So we're offering 2 membership classes in the next few weeks. The first is membership Reboot class. It's at 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Zoom on Thursday, August 26th, for those wishing to transfer from another Unity church, and for Unity members who need to reactivate their voting status. And now, if you're new to Unity and would like to join, we are also offering a 2-session member discernment class from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Thursday, and that's September 2nd and 9th. Reverend Kurt will introduce Unity's approach to prayer and meditation, Unity's 5 basic principles, an overview of the Unity movement, and explain the blessings and commitments of memberships. Learn more and register for either the Reboot or member discernment class on our website. And this week, Reverend Christina is leading our in-person midweek meditation in her beautiful garden sanctuary. And if you've been online on Facebook, you know it's beautiful. So register on the website and we'll email you her exact location. Also, remember our virtual garden chat has moved, that's with Sharon, to Mondays at 5 p.m. And Sharon continues to share a recipe and facilitate a discussion on today's talk. So if you need the link, visit the website at Unity North Shore, unityns.org, and re-register. The correct link will be emailed to you right away. And that's it for the announcements. And you can see there's lots of happenings going on at UNS. And the best way to stay connected is by subscribing to our weekly e-bless. If you're not already receiving them, subscribe now using the link in the chat stream. And now, Felina and Laura will lead us in our peace song, followed by Sharon with a prayer of protection.
Let there be peace on earth.
Now let us join all together in saying the prayer of protection, which is on your screen. Yes. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and I am divine. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Happy Sunday.
Farewell, friends. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your weekend. We love you. Bye-bye.